You and your weird catchphrases.
Welcome to the Backlot 605 podcast. I am one of your hosts. I'm Casey.
I'm Brian.
And we are here on episode 20 with a very special guest, Dominic Wieneke. Thank you for being here.
Wieneke.
Wieneke. What?
You said Wieneke. That's the other way it gets pronounced too. So.
No. Gold jacket, green jacket. Who gives a shit? It's all the same.
The blue dress, gold dress?
Yes.
There you go.
Which apparently they have solved that issue, so the internet can stop fighting over it. Anyway, we're gonna talk about horror movies today, so that's why we brought on Dominic. So Dominic, quickly, I don't know, where do you want to start with him?
Gently, please.
Yes.
Coerce him just every so little bit here.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes.
All right. So lifelong horror fan. Discovered horror when I was really young. Pretty much a huge Stephen King fan. Anything he writes, I've read. As far as horror films. Pretty much anything that's out there, I've probably seen it or heard of it. I am a horror filmmaker as well. Kind of did a feature called Death Rot, which it is what it is. It was a low-budget film for, I think we made it for $1,200. So that's out there on DVD. Watch at your own risk. Otherwise, transitioned into shorts right now, so kind of focusing on that. Yeah. So that's kind of in a nutshell.
Hey, I enjoyed Mr. Pointy. I'm just saying.
Mr. Pointy is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
That was a little bit of a test for me. I wanted to see, take the smallest story I could and isolate it into one room. So I'm kind of in that stage now where I'm testing myself to see what I can come up with. So
Awesome.
Yeah, for people, it reminded me of the Lights Out short film, which got a feature after.
Maybe Mr. Pointy will end up with a feature.
I know, maybe.
A lot of people have asked they want more, and I've been looking at it, and it was never intended to be more than what it is. But then I'm like, shit, there is a whole story that I could come up with. So my goal is to wait till the actress gets to be 18, and then I'll do the sequel.
Oh.
Kind of do what is it, Boyhood? Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little tease.
Yeah.
Then he gets Shazam 2 after that.
Oh, there you go.
That's how it's going to work.
Well, I mean, Saw started out as a short film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, actually a lot of little horror films started as shorts, so that's kind of where I'm focusing on that, and yeah, seeing where it goes. So.
Awesome.
Excellent. So we're going to talk about our favorite horror films of the last decade and kind of the stuff that shaped the last decade in horror. But before we get to that, we got to jump to our usual shit, which is the box office.
You call it shit.
It is. Well, it's not shit for Captain Marvel.
Yeah, that's the only one that's out there that I know right now, right?
So Captain Marvel still at number one, $69 million, making some fucking big money.
Oh, no, not at all.
No.
I think that's pocket change.
That's it.
Do you remember? Okay, this is probably going to date me a little bit. When Batman came out in '89,
Yep.
made $100 million in 5 days, and people were freaking out. And now,
But think about it though. That's 1989, $100 million.
that's true.
That's more than this.
Yeah.
I mean, if you figure for adjustments.
But still, it's like if a movie doesn't hit $100 million in the opening weekend, they're disappointed. It's like, oh, it's a bomb.
Especially for a Marvel movie.
Oh, well, yeah, definitely.
But yeah, this movie is making bonkers money. It's only going to increase the money that Endgame that it will eventually get here in a month.
Oh yeah, that's what I enjoyed about what I saw here recently is everybody talking about Endgame about, you know, Infinity War is in the top 5 movies of all time money-making movies. Will Endgame beat it? I'm like, no shit.
It's going to get top 3.
Oh, easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to definitely check it out.
Number 2 this week is a brand new release, Wonder Park, $16 million this weekend.
Not bad for a directorless feature.
Yeah, for a movie that doesn't have a director.
Yeah, I had to look that up. I actually got curious.
No, I didn't. It's the animated one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no credited director on IMDb or in the movie because he kind of got in trouble for some
He got himself in trouble, but he was so far late in the game they just finished up the movie and just took his credit off.
Yep.
Was it Bryan Singer?
No. Dylan Brown. I had to look him up earlier today.
Oh, now I'm going to look into this.
It's Bryan Singer's alias.
Yeah.
Number 3, 5 Feet Apart, $13.1 million. Stupid teenage movies. That's it.
Considering what it's up against, though, that's not too shabby.
It's not bad.
I've never heard of it.
Not for, it's one of your typical teenage romance.
Dying
okay,
teens
one's
romance
dying,
movie.
Yeah.
No, they're both dying.
Oh,
in
they're
this
both-
one. That's the twist.
That's the twist.
Yes.
It's not the girl, it's not the boy, it's both.
They're both dying.
They're both dying of the same thing.
Our type of film, obviously. Number 4, How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World, $9 million, and then Tyler Perry's A Medea Family Funeral, $8 million. That movie's still making money. Holy
He
shit!
had another one?
His last one, I guess.
You and I will agree to disagree with that. I don't care what Tyler says.
Okay, so I should look up the spoilers for this, but I'm pretty sure Medea dies.
So it's the final Medea movie?
Yeah.
Supposedly.
Until he makes her a
Until
ghost
he
or
makes
something.
until he makes Boo 3, she comes back as a ghost.
That's the actual ghost. Yep.
Wow. I mean, I'm very envious of the dude who created his career out of that, but and how he turns them out so damn quick.
Well, and that's just that, and that's where I was thinking. They're talking about, oh, this is my last one. This is my last one. I'm like, dude, this is where you've made your bread and butter. Like,
Right.
You are a billionaire because of this character and everything you've created around it. Why the fuck stop now? Like, they're not my movies, and that's okay.
But it's interesting. I don't know of anybody who's ever seen any of them.
I know a few people.
Oh, I thought maybe he just like goes and buys out all the theaters himself.
It's just a bunch of different people as his Medea characters.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. So yeah, that was the box office. No surprises, big surprises this week at all.
Not at all.
Captain Marvel still making bank
Yeah, she'll be making bank for
until Endgame comes out.
pretty much.
So let's jump to the news. Not a whole lot of news this week.
Hold on real quick, I apologize. Do you think Captain Marvel will still be in top 10 by the time Endgame comes out?
Yes, because I think people
Probably, yeah.
it'll be a thing like, oh, if I haven't watched it yet, shit, I should go watch that first. And yeah, I definitely think it will.
Yeah, that's kind of what my wife and I did with Black Panther. It was coming. We watched it the week before Avengers came out. So
That's a good way to go into it.
Yeah,
Or
definitely.
even doing both in the same day. That'd be a
so it's
fun.
kind of we haven't seen Captain Marvel yet, but so that's kind of our plan. Is maybe we'll wait till a week before.
That's a good plan. I like that.
Don't listen to last week's podcast.
No,
No.
as far as spoilers, yeah, it's you know.
So the big news is Disney released some trailers again.
A shocker.
They released a new trailer for Aladdin.
The one they should have released the first time.
Yep.
The one that they should have been, you know what?
Yeah, this one actually has music. Imagine that in a Disney movie.
And it actually is like the Lion King trailer, where it actually looks like almost shot for shot from the animated to the live action. And it legit actually looks good.
Yeah, and you finally get to hear Will Smith singing and dancing and talking as the genie.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Have you watched this new trailer at
No,
all?
I have. I've never actually seen Aladdin, but you know, it's.
How can you go back far as 1989's
Yeah,
Batman, which means you're in my age bracket and
Right.
had never seen Aladdin from like 92?
I think it hit later. You know, I was kind of well, I would have been 18 in '92, so you know, it hit a little bit later. And I don't want to see a kids movie.
Too cool for it at 18.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Even though my mom did get daycare for years, so I've seen parts of it, but I've never actually seen the whole thing.
No, it's a great movie, but
Sorry.
But I would replace
alcohol.
Robin Williams of all people.
yeah, that's the biggest hurdle that this movie is trying to still get over is Will Smith as the genie. Like,
Yeah.
it's struggling.
Well, you know, for me, it's not much. That's not the struggle. I think it's just trying to adapt this. I think it's having Guy Ritchie be the one behind the camera, because no matter what you do, trying to replace Robin Williams is going to be damn near impossible. Like if he were still alive, they would have pulled the Mufasa. They would instead of
Oh, yeah.
Oh, totally.
they would have been, hey, you need to come back. You are irreplaceable. Since obviously you can't get him, you shoot for the stars.
You know who was replaceable in this movie? Gilbert Gottfried as Iago. So Alan Tudyk is going to voice Gilbert Gottfried's character Iago, the bird sidekick, I guess, of Jafar.
And I'm okay with this.
Absolutely, Alan Tudyk's awesome.
I'll say that dude is everything he's in is great.
Oh yeah, it's like he's just like Donald Glover, where he's like, oh, you want to give me more of that Disney money? Where the fuck do I need to go?
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to do more voice work? Fuck, which room do I need to be in?
Yep.
Just sign me my paycheck.
He should just be in every movie, period.
Oh, agreed. Like live
Like
action,
Warwolf.
voiceover, all of that. Like for me, there isn't anything he doesn't do badly.
Oh yeah. He's everything he's in, he elevates. Mm-hmm. Like Dodgeball.
Transformers.
Well, I don't think you can elevate Transformers at all.
Yeah, he was in Transformers?
He was in Transformers 3. Yeah, Transformers 3. He was in the last one with Shia. Because he was the bodyguard for John Turturro's character.
I know I've seen them, but those movies just all blend together.
They're the same movie.
Pretty much.
Well,
Recycled footage.
and it's just like the highlights. Like for me, for Transformers 3, Alan Tudyk was one of the highlights.
There you go, yeah.
The other big trailer for the week, obviously, the Avengers Endgame trailer.
Look at you going, meh.
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 I watched it. It didn't show me anything they hadn't already seen. It's just a little bit, almost like the first two trailers. They showed you like a little pinhole size, then it was maybe a little, Super Ball size, and now this is like a golf ball size. They're not showing you anything yet. It's the same thing.
Which, for me, I mean, the stuff they showed, I'm excited for what they've shown.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, too, I get why they've only shown what they did show.
Right.
Because there's only much they can without going, well, we just literally gave everything away.
Right. And we just undid everything that happened in the last film, which...
Yeah. Like, we know because they're me and a coworker earlier talking about, we know that there's a Black Widow movie coming out, but that's easy. That's something they can talk about because she's still alive. We know obviously Spider-Man's going to come back because, we have Homecoming coming out in July.
Right.
But outside of that, by now, Marvel would have told us what the next 3-4 years worth of movies is.
Yeah.
And, they literally are like, well, fuck, we can't say anything until this is done.
Well, what I thought was weird with Infinity War, the way they ended it, is all the ones they left alive. If you know the behind the scenes of films, all the ones they left alive were the ones that have their contracts are ending or have talked about leaving. So I'm like, well, obviously they're going to undo everything. And I've read the Infinity War comics, so even though they swore they were staying away from them, they kind of funneled right back into them. So you kind of, if you've read the comics, you know how they're going to undo it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier about the whole James Gunn thing. I'm like, well, we still have a Guardian left, so you can still talk about Guardians because I thought about that. I was like, oh shit, Rocket is literally the only one left right now.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Guardians, James Gunn is back on Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So Disney retracts their initial statements on this and rehires him back.
I'm okay with this.
Duh.
But at least it gives us a little bit of a timeline of what we expect for Guardians.
Yeah.
Because it won't be until after he's done with Suicide Squad 2, and that's slated for 2021. So we won't see the Guardians for at least then.
Yeah, I mean, this is the right move to make, by Disney. And who doesn't want to see another Guardians of the Galaxy movie from James Gunn?
I need that in my life.
Yeah.
And
I was glad that he came back because I think Disney made the right choice. I felt they made the wrong choice when they fired him for what they did. But I respect the fact that he stayed very professional about it. He didn't get all angry and Twitter ranty. He just said, fine, all right. And he went on with what he was doing.
Yeah, he went on. He essentially went on with his life, went on. He thanked the people that were, he even went and point to say, like when Batista went off on Disney, hey, I appreciate the support, whatnot, but don't be getting yourselves in trouble. Don't, just let it be kind of stuff.
Yeah, Batista's a little hot-headed.
Well, he was a wrestler.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing about this that I loved is Taika Waititi sent out a tweet after this happened.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he said, "Fuck, I thought I was going to do it."
In
typical
he
fashion,
turned it down because he says that was James Gunn's movie. He's like, I want nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
which I think there again that shows respect on everybody.
Well, and I remember seeing something about somebody talking about who should. Some publication or something like that. Who should take over for Guardians 3, blah, blah, blah. And watching the Russos come on board going, hey, we know a guy. Mm-hmm. And Taika coming on as getting, hey, there's this guy named James Gunn. Nice. And I would not be surprised if that's half of the reason why Disney rehired him. They legit couldn't get the people they wanted to get because they kept going, you need Gunn to finish the movie. If you're going to use his script, he needs to come. I don't think they could get any director that they wanted.
No, and who would want to step into that? I mean, you're already going to go in with a huge negative against you. Mm-hmm. So why not?
Yeah, but big shoes to fill.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, it's the right move, and it's the move every person in the world wanted back.
Yes.
Except
for that little slim few people that were all like, he got fired for something he said 12 years ago. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you have Peter Farrelly, who wins an Oscar after exposing himself on all these sets. You know, I mean, yeah.
Well, that was something else I thought about too. Is Disney going? Oh shit! Bohemian Rhapsody was winning awards, and that was a bad director. Shit.
Right.
And he did worse things.
He actually did stuff and just didn't make jokes.
Yeah, he didn't just make bad jokes 12 years ago.
I do enjoy that they tried to blame it on his trauma days. You know, saying he was trying to reinvent himself coming out of trauma, and it's like, why are you giving the bad rap to trauma?
I mean, even he himself is like,
Right.
in the state of the person I was then, and having to be edgy and whatnot, you had to say stupid shit,
Yeah, to get attention.
And he's like, this is 10 years later. I'm sitting going, I don't say stupid shit like that now.
Right.
No,
So-
he just writes stupid shit for Dave Bautista to say in the movies now. So it all comes full circle for him. So it's awesome that he's back.
I'm invisible.
How long have you been standing there? So he started off, speaking of what we're going to get into, he started off in horror and
Yes.
made a fantastic movie called Slither. I
Slither.
love Slither.
And one other movie where he's like, hey, Michael Rooker, I need you in my movie. You're going to die.
Yeah, he likes killing Rooker for some reason.
I think that's why he was so happy to be back in Guardians 2.
Yeah, until he
Until-
realized
until he died.
No, that's why he liked being in Guardians 1.
Oh, Yep.
Right,
So,
'cause he lived.
because he lived, yep. So we're going to talk about the last decade of horror. I don't know why I thought of this. I don't know. I thought it would be interesting.
Because you like horror movies?
I like horror movies.
Yeah, I'm a huge horror. And my genre is, I love the 80s horror. Since I grew up in the late 80s. That's when I was going to theaters, and checking out, new Friday the 13th, Elm Street, all that. So when you came up with the last 10 years, I'm like, there's been nothing good in the last 10 years. But then I started to go through the list, and I'm like, there's actually been quite a bit of good stuff,
Yeah, and for me, this whole trend of kind of where we are in horror today with what we're gonna get to Us next this coming weekend.
Yay.
Yay, Jordan
Yay.
Peele.
Looking forward to that.
Yep, and then we're gonna get Pet Cemetery here in the next month. So 2 big horror releases coming up.
Currently trending at 100%.
Yeah, getting really good reviews out of South by Southwest. But I think this whole trend starts in 2009 with Paranormal Activity, with where we are in horror today.
It did. Give everybody a little update. The 80s were the slasher genre. The 90s were kind of the teenage.
Those were the meta films, like the Screams, and I Know What You Did Last
Even though
Summer.
that was late 90s, but still, the early 90s, there wasn't a whole lot.
No.
And then the 2000s to me, it was kind of the J horror, the PG-13 horror. And I think finally within the last 10 years, they kind of reversed it, saying, oh, there's a lot of, give people free reign and give them the R rating again.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of indie horror in the last decade.
Yes.
That's great.
I like the fact that you started with it going that it's Paranormal Activity, because you got Blumhouse basically redefining the genre.
Exactly, and that's kind of a lot of this list is Blumhouse. But yeah, they made this movie for like $15,000.
It was dirt cheap. And,
Yeah.
that's kind of a model that they've stuck to, is they give, like Jordan Peele with Get Out, like, here's $1 million, go make your movie, do what you want. Which I love that model is they give it back to the directors. It's not the studio tinkering with, like when Rob Zombie did House of a Thousand Corpses. The Universal's like, go do what you want, and then it's like, oh shit, what did you do? So then they pawn
Have they
it
not?
off.
Did they not realize who they hired?
Basically, so they're like, oh shit, we don't want to do that. So that's where the studios clamp down on everybody else. But Blumhouse is like, hey, go make it. We'll put it out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the model they've stuck with since. Another movie that came out the next year, big fan of this one, Insidious.
Yes, that one is one of the few that actually freaked the shit out of me. Mostly because my wife is not a horror fan at all, so I tend to have to watch horror movies when she's not home. So she was gone for the weekend, and I'm like, I'm gonna sit down and watch Insidious. And my thing as a filmmaker and a horror buff is I want to be scared, because not much has scared me. But man, Insidious just. And it's the one shot that scared the shit out of me is when they're in the kitchen, or they're in the dining room, and the 3 of them are talking, they're just cutting back and forth, and then suddenly that demon is right behind, I'm drawing a blank on his name right now.
Patrick Wilson.
Patrick, yeah.
Yep.
It's right there, and it's just the music cranks up, just scared the shit out of me. So, like, the rest of the film, I'm like, I'm on edge, And then later that night, I'm like, creeping in the house, flipping on the light switch and then going into the room. You know?
Reach around the corner.
Yeah, basically, it's like no.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. This movie it scared the shit out of me, and I honestly don't get scared very easy in movies, but
Right.
James Wan is a masterclass in this movie. Like, there's directors who
it's like he spent the first part of the 2000s in the the slasher horror with Jigsaw and everything like that, and then went into the later half of it and going into the supernatural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if there's anybody outside of, well, at first I was like, Jordan Peele, he's obviously modern day, like, where the fuck did this come from? But, like, James Wan is, like, the guy who helped redefine current horror. And, like, he's, like, to me, like, the Wes Craven, the John Carpenter kind of, where, like, if you want to make a good horror movie,
ask James Wan.
Ask James Wan.
He's probably the only current director that I could name right offhand that's actually continually pushing out quality product, like you mentioned, Wes Craven and stuff. But yeah, it's almost like when he did Saw, then he went and did Dead Silence and realized, oh shit, I don't know, he kind of, I feel, messed it up a little bit.
Yep.
And then he came back with Insidious and just like totally like, holy shit.
Yeah, there's so many good shots in that movie. Like, there's the scene where they're like describing the monster, and it just shows, it's like just the silhouette of the hand like reaching over and like pointing to the kid.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's just fucking terrifying. Like,
Yeah.
it gives me chills.
Yeah, even because I avoided watching the second one for quite a while just because of that, because I'm like, the first one did some like damage, like days later I'm just thinking about it, thinking about the shots and the demon in the basement, the same red-faced demon who looks a lot like Darth Maul, but
I think that's his name at this point, just the Darth Maul demon.
Darth Maul demon,
Yeah.
And just the music, yeah.
It's what did you think of the second chapter? I know that a lot of people are divisive on it.
I thought it was a nice flip, where, because I forget, the first one, the kid was the goal, and
Yep.
the second one, the dad was the goal, which I thought was a nice flip. I'm thinking, oh great, it's going to be the same thing. But they come back and it's like, no, the demon's hanging on to, the dad, which I was like, that's nice. The third one, I honestly don't, I know I watched it, I didn't remember much about it.
That one's with like the girl who like she gets like hit by
In
a
the
car.
apartment, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
She's in bed and there's like knocking on the other side of the wall.
Yeah.
And then
It's
the
not
fourth
great.
one I haven't watched yet. So.
Yeah, the fourth one they decline in quality pretty fast.
Yeah. Well, I think.
But is that the point where it's the studio taking over?
I think they kept switching directors.
Well, like, I mean, like
little bit.
like Saw, for example. At that point,
Yeah.
Saw 3, James and Lee, they both leave, but the studio's like, I need to keep making these movies. They probably have producer credits because of characters
Right.
created and stuff like that. But outside of that, the studio's like, oh, you guys, you go on, do what you think. We own the rights anyway.
Right.
The fourth one, I don't think James or Lee are involved.
Did Lee write it though?
I don't know if he wrote it.
Because I know he.
For which one,
The
Insidious?
fourth one. He
Yeah.
directed the third one.
Yes, which I thought was fairly decent. Have you seen Upgrade?
Yes.
Oh, that's phenomenal. Yeah. If it's not on the list, we'll talk about it later.
Yep. Upgrade's fan, and then once he's gonna go right up there with James, I think, here very
definitely.
quickly.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Did either he wrote the fourth one and left it to go do something else?
Because that's the last key, right?
Yeah.
Fourth one is like same year. That was 2018, so it
Yeah,
would
they
have been he
started
would have been working
rolling
on
them out
Upgrade.
pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And,
Lee wrote it, but it looks like Adam Robitel is the one that directed it.
Yep.
okay.
So at least one of them was involved.
Yeah, and Adam went to do Escape Room after that.
Yeah, you know how you felt about that.
Yeah, woof. Another
I
movie.
didn't think it was that bad.
Yeah. You can check out our Escape Room podcast earlier, so check that out.
How we determined how you met your mother characters
Yes.
would win through this escape room.
2010 also had kind of the start of like I kind of look as like the early like almost trilogy of kind of meta movies after Scream with Tucker and Dale versus Evil, and then you get You're Next, and then Cabin in the Woods.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're all not your traditional horror movies at all.
Redneck horror.
With Tucker and Dale versus Evil, no,
Very
yeah,
much so, yeah.
where the rednecks are the good guys.
Alan Tudyk.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's a phenomenal film that I definitely need to revisit that one because it's been so long. Yeah. It's in. I mean, like Cabin in the Woods. They started to do this meta spin on things, almost making fun of horror films, but yet not. And I know Cabin in the Woods actually got shelved for quite a while. That was what, 2
Same.
3 years?
Yeah,
yes.
they waited for Hemsworth to get famous.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That and Red Dawn.
Yes, that was the other one.
Those two, because I remember hearing about both of those where they're like, well, those were in studio limbo because the studios that made them went bankrupt,
Right.
so they sat on the shelf. But yeah, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this movie we just made, and these director, because Cabin in the Woods is Joss Whedon and Drew Goddard,
Yep.
so they're like, oh, these guys are starting to make some names for themselves. Maybe we should, I don't know, release this movie.
Well, and that's why I don't understand that with Joss Whedon behind it. But I think he was kind of in a little bit of a decline at that point where his career was, they were looking down at it. Because I think he was writing Wonder Woman and got fired at some point or let go.
Yeah.
Or,
For me, one of my favorite out of those is Your Next. Like, I love Your Next. The home invasion storyline just completely turned upside down, and
I did not see that twist coming.
No.
Just because I was expecting... What kind of struck me with that one was the weird comedy. I guess I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
You know, which... You know, the guy runs into the piano wire... doesn't fully kill him, and then he's like cracking jokes about it, or there was just something about it that just kind of struck me like a little off.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the hell out of it. I mean, it was really interesting with the twist, you know. So
Yeah, it's taking that idea of like the strangers. I think was pretty much what they were going off of, and then switching it on its head that the one of the ladies they're going after, she's just a fucking badass and gonna kill all them.
Nice.
Yeah, have you ever seen Your Next?
No.
You need to. You would love it.
I have a lot of those movies where it's like, that needs to go on my list. That list is so long, I forget half of what's on it anymore.
yeah, that's me
Including movies I own.
Yeah.
when I go to like sit down, I'm like, what am I gonna watch? I'm like, shit. All right, I'll just watch something I've seen 8 times already.
Yeah, exactly. How many times can I watch The Fast and the Furious? Shut up.
Once was enough.
So we're gonna jump into like the couple found footage movies here with not found footage. What's the word I'm looking for, Brian? Anthology, yes. VHS and then ABCs of Death. I've only watched a few segments of ABCs of Death. I watched VHS about 2 or 3 times. I love VHS.
The thing with ABCs of Death is it's not... There's good segments, but it's just not an overall good anthology because it's you're constrained to following the alphabet, but then it's like the flow skips around too much. Whereas I think with VHS, they at least can get a better flow because you can rearrange the stories to kind of feed into one another. Whereas ABCs of Death, it was just kind of like...
What's to start with A?
Chop, chop, you know? Yeah.
What can we do that starts with X?
Right.
Yeah. VHS, I can't remember which VHS it was, but there's one where it's a found footage element in it, but it's basically a guy has a GoPro camera on his helmet and he turns into a zombie.
That one, I think that's the second one.
Is that the second
that
one?
one's phenomenal. Yeah.
Weird.
It was really good. And I, as a filmmaker, watched that one multiple times just to figure out, how the hell did you do that? Did you really run somebody over? You know, so yeah, that one was really good. That one stands out. And then the cult one, too. I think that might have been the second one, too, where he just walks into this room and there's like 8 or 9 people and they're all like, they shoot themselves at the exact same time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah,
Very like awesome segments in it, but it's definitely a strange group of segments in it. One of my favorites, and I know Kayla loves this one. It's the one with the siren. It might be the first segment in the first VHS.
The first one, they spun that off into its own film.
Yeah.
So
And that movie's actually not bad.
I haven't checked that one out yet.
Which movie is this?
It's just called Siren,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. It's actually pretty good. Then we're going to jump to a Blumhouse movie kind of moving forward after Insidious, Sinister. Scott Derrickson. What do you think of Sinister?
I liked it. It was a little bit more of a... kind of along the lines of Insidious, where it's just kind of that creepy feel. It was rated R, wasn't it? Or was it PG? One of those PG-13?
It is rated.
I think it's R because I think
Should be
there's
at
some
the top.
hanging scenes.
Where the fuck my shit go? Yeah, rated R.
Yeah, because I think that opening scene probably gave it that R
Yeah.
for sure.
And is that the one with Ethan Hawke?
Yes.
Okay, that's the one where he's watching this video and it's
All the smut films.
lawnmower, and then all of a sudden, just like out of nowhere, it runs over somebody.
Yep.
Just like, holy shit, where did that come from?
Yeah, those are the best part, is him like just sitting and watching those quote unquote smut films.
Yeah.
But where that movie kind of falls apart.
Smut or snuff?
Snuff.
Not a smut film.
Oh, wrong thing then.
Way wrong thing.
Way wrong thing. That's what he was watching.
I had to
on
make
the
sure I
side.
heard him correct. I'm glad you helped me.
No.
Yeah.
Were you watching a Serbian film by chance?
Yes. Where it falls apart for me is once you get into like the creepy kids type of thing, like very overplayed, and then takes away from just the overall like drama of what he was going for earlier.
Yeah, I thought they did a good job of trying to build up a new. In a lot of these films, they try to create these new villains.
Yeah.
I thought they did a fairly decent job with that, but yeah, with the kids and all these ties to the past, it was like, I enjoyed it. I thought it was very atmospheric, and I think it led to Derrickson getting Doctor Strange, so...
It's worth something, then.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here, you're talking about the lawnmower, and all I can picture in my head is Maximum Overdrive when the kid gets run over by the steamroller.
Yep.
I love Maximum Overdrive.
It's so cheesy. I remember seeing that when I was younger, and I'm like, holy shit, they're killing kids. You can't do that in a film.
All I know is that, because you've heard of the idea of, like, editing for, like, DVD or TV and stuff like that. Like, I got it on your DVD. I was so excited. And I know that fucking thing is edited because, like, when the kid gets run over by the steamroller, I distinctively remember the red smear.
Yep.
That is not in my DVD.
Really?
And it pissed me off.
I wonder if you got you must have got an edited version. Because, yeah, it's very
I got the
distinctive.
currently available DVD version from Amazon.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, other than that scene, you're not missing much.
Emilio!
Just Emilio Estevez. He's not killing any other kids in any movies, I don't think, so.
Not currently.
No, not currently.
Little side note with Mac Mode. You heard like the behind the scenes stories with Stephen King just was totally coked out, and that's why he will never direct again, is because of that experience. But he was high on coke the entire time. During the lawnmower scene, their DP actually lost an eye because it hit a rock and it hit the DP and it just totally took out his eye. And they got sued. Dino De Laurentiis got sued. The whole production got sued and won. Obviously, I mean they lost because the guy won because it's a cinematographer who lost his eye.
Yeah. Because
of neglect and everything else that was going on that set. So
the guy who has to make sure things look right.
Right. Now only has one eye. Yeah. That's just clear. Although one of the greatest 3D cinematographers was a guy with one eye, so it's possible.
All that for Maximum Overdrive.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Maximum, yeah.
Sorry about that.
Let's jump to The Conjuring. This is kind of James Wan's horror masterpiece, I would say.
Yeah, it was. Even though for some reason when I put off watching it, I'm like, oh, it's just gonna be like Insidious. It actually was a step up. It was a lot more atmospheric, and the whole thing with the family of the Warrens, I didn't know a lot about them, so kind of whether or not a lot of it was true or not, I don't know. But I really liked The Conjuring, and I thought the second one was just as good.
One of the things like it helped build probably the second most popular, or at least financially and critically successful universes. The Conjuring universe. So yeah, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is obviously far and away number one. This is probably the second best out of all of them that are out there.
It's because we don't have the Avatar movies yet.
Can you call that a cinematic universe, though?
Yeah, it's just sequels.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
If they come out, yeah. But yeah, there's...
2 of them are in post.
Sure. That's the entirety of the movie, though.
Yeah, it was 1 day of shooting and 3 years of post.
Yeah. I mean, we're getting a whole nother, at least, I don't know if Annabelle 3 comes out this year.
Summer, yeah, they just dropped a little teaser trailer.
Yeah.
Annabelle Comes Home, which...
It's a weird title.
Yeah, and that first Annabelle was, I thought, not very good.
Atrocious.
But the second one was a breath of fresh air. I mean, it was totally different. And I thought, even though it tied back into the first one, which was nice, but I was expecting... Maybe that's it. My expectations were very low.
Yeah, it's the guy that did Lights Out, David F. Sandberg, and then I like when studios actually take good horror directors and give them like the first movie was bad, and then you give them the good one. We had that with Ouija.
Yeah. That was another one that was. And what I really loved about when Annabelle 2 came out on Blu-ray, David Sandberg is very open about his process and showing behind the scenes stuff. And he's very active on Twitter too. He's very responsive, which is great. He wants to educate people. So for as a filmmaker, I loved just the behind the scenes stuff.
And now we're getting Shazam from him.
Yay!
Yay.
I'm so excited for that.
Your movie right there, isn't it? Shazam.
It's Zachary Levi.
Yeah. But we are getting another Conjuring movie here this summer. It's called The Curse of. I'm gonna say it in American. La Llorona, because I'm not gonna try. But yeah, that's technically in the Conjuring universe. They announced that after it premiered.
They announced that at South by Southwest.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how it'll tie in.
It's weird that they're not marketing it as that though. As a Conjuring universe movie at all. I don't know.
Unless maybe it's too early yet.
Yeah.
They want to tease people.
They don't want to pull a Cloverfield paradox.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe.
They didn't want to tell people it was The Conjuring, and then it bombed at South by Southwest.
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing good. Hey, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's actually we'll just go straight to DVD.
But you've seen The Conjuring, right, Brian?
I'm behind.
You're struggling. Come on.
Yeah.
I have a
But you're
lot of horror movies I'm behind
You're
on.
still caught up on the Fast and the Furious, though. It seems where I'm not. So.
That's good.
All 8 movies, 2 more to go.
The Conjuring, I mean, for some reason, it's rated R. No blood or gore or
it's just the
swearing.
atmosphere.
Yeah.
I was going to say, it's not blood and gore that gets you an R rated.
No, not for that one.
If there's 2 fucks in it, you're going to get an R rating.
And I don't even think that. It's just the intense and scary sequences.
Yeah.
The use of like all his tracking shots, at least in the first 2 Conjuring movies, are fantastic, and in Insidious are fantastic. Yeah. Like I'm a sucker for tracking shots.
Especially when they're done really well and you get the lighting, because and there again, I have a hard time enjoying films because I'm always analyzing, like, oh shit, how did they do that?
Yeah.
But yeah, the Conjuring was one that it pulled me in, just like Insidious, and just kind of put me on edge for the next couple days. So.
Another Blumhouse movie that came out in 2013, The Purge, and then this started a franchise of its own after that.
And a TV series.
Yeah.
Going on a 2nd season.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It got renewed for 2nd season. I only watched the first episode, though.
I was going to say, I've only ever watched the first movie.
It's a great concept. I don't think the movies have captured it as well as they could yet. And I don't know, I mean, it's one of those, it's a concept thing that there's not much to build upon.
Well, and I think, with the exception of watching the first Purge, I've actually, of ones you've talked about, I've actually watched.
Like the first one that came out, or the movie called The First Purge?
No, the first Purge is the only one I haven't seen. But otherwise, I've seen the second and Election Year, which is the second one, because Anarchy is number 2.
Okay.
So it's the Purge, Anarchy, and then Election Year.
And then the first. Purge.
And then the first Purge is the
really
4th one.
4 already?
Yes. They're for me, the Purge movies they're different in that they're more topical.
Yes.
They're because obviously you purposely released Election Year during the year of the election and talking about them. The premise is that they are going after this person who's trying to win an election to basically dismantle the Purge.
Right.
So that's why I've always seen them as they're the horror movie that is trying to be topical at the same time.
Well, it's kind of the 70s had a lot of horror films like that where it was like they actually had a message.
Exactly.
And I think which is great, but in 10, 15 years, is the Purge going to hold up the same?
I think the way these are doing it, because I think they will a little bit. I mean, like with any horror movie, though, you're going to get 20 years down the road, they're going to be like...
A little dated, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, for the sake of the Home Invasion movie,
Yeah.
Home Invasion, it's going to hold up. I think for the sake of 20 years from now, somebody's still going to get robbed.
Right.
In terms of political assassination, that shit's not going to go away.
Right.
So I think because they're topical is what's going to allow them to maybe not necessarily age as badly as other movies.
That's a good point, yeah. Yeah.
Because, I mean, you look at the Saw movies, you're going to be 20 years down the road, and you're going to be like, wow, that special effects looks like shit. Well, the way we look at, Friday the 13th and,
right.
Nightmare on Elm Street from the 80s, like, wow, that is horrible.
Well, even Saw, I think it's a really weird rap because it's the torture porn. But if you watch the first one, it's not violent at all. I mean,
No.
it is, but not nearly as bad as where the sequels went.
No, the first one is definitely more built on the suspense.
Right.
Yeah, you've convinced me to go finish that franchise now, The Purge.
The Purge?
Yep.
I really, like I said, I'm upset that I haven't gone back to finish watching the first Purge, because of it's the premise of how the fourth
started.
Everything got started. It's got Marissa Tomei in it. You can't go wrong there.
Right.
Um,
The only one, I mean, I know they're doing another one at some point. I would like to see.
I don't know if they were or not.
I thought I had rumored somewhere.
I think that's one of the reasons why they went with like the
maybe
TV series.
And there again, I haven't seen the TV series, but I guess I would like to see a character like who's on that moral dilemma of do I purge or not. You know, it just seems like a lot of the characters they have are either against it or for it. There's none of those that are like, well, you know, I see its good points and its bad points.
And you're correct. It does look like there's a fifth and final in the works.
It's not going to be final.
Well, according to the article I found.
Fifth and final? No,
Planned as final film of the franchise, it will be a really cool ending. Wow, that is a headline.
Wow, alright. So they'll just continue the TV series then.
Movie Phone needs to work on their headlines.
Movie Phone. Not the most trustworthy, I don't think.
But, I mean, you know, I'm looking at this here, and for the sake of each movie's brought in $100 million, you know, and they're probably, again, low budget.
Well, they make it for $1 million. So
Yeah.
that's a hell of a turnaround.
And Anarchy's got Bubba from Forrest Gump. You can't go wrong there.
Can't go wrong there.
You can't go wrong with Bubba.
Nope.
Another movie you can't go wrong with is the Evil Dead remake.
I so enjoyed that.
I loved it.
I've only watched bits and pieces. It's sad to say this. I've only watched bits and pieces of the original, but I know,
Fail.
I know.
It's terrible.
Part of me is again the dating thing.
Yeah.
For the original, like you watch some of the stuff, and it's because it's so dated and so low budget that it was.
It is very much.
It's very, very. So that's part of me going, oh, but no, I really liked how they flipped the script in the remake. That it was the girl. Mm-hmm. It was dark. It was gritty. I definitely like how they played that one.
I can tell. I think Dominic doesn't like this one.
The thing is, I was against it for the longest time because I was such a fan of the original three, and I tend to be like, let's stop the remakes and not unnecessary sequels, but yeah, at the same time, I'll still watch them. You know, I mean, the original still exists, but it kind of. So I went in wanting to hate it, and I actually enjoyed it more than I thought I would. Mm-hmm. It's still
because I think it pays homage to the original without basically pissing on it.
Exactly, which I think is maybe where I enjoyed it because it was a little different than what I was expecting. Mm-hmm. You know, it was ultra violent, and I mean, just cutting her own arm off. So
and not goofy violence like the Evil Dead. The first one it's a little goofy, but the second two are completely comedies. So
yeah.
I mean, that's definitely, Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell, their style is that goofiness, so. So when they actually took it in a more serious route, I actually enjoyed it more than I thought I would, so.
Yeah, and I like the whole, they take it serious both with the gore and with the story. Like, I like that they deal with, drug addiction and, try to take more serious elements to this, instead of just, kids going to the woods and getting killed.
Yeah.
Right,
actually adding a reason to go there, yeah.
Right.
It wasn't like Cabin in the Woods.
No, which I thought when I first watched Cabin in the Woods, just to jump back to that quick, I was legit just looking for a slasher movie. I just want kids to go to a cabin and die, and then all of a sudden it happened. I'm like, what the fuck did I just watch?
You watched an amazing movie where someone gets stabbed through the heart by a unicorn.
Yeah.
It took me a second viewing to actually appreciate that movie for what it was, because I had no idea what it was the first time I watched it.
Yeah, you were misled.
Yeah. I want to jump into some underrated movies. I know Brian didn't know a couple of these from this year, from 2014. A couple of them on here are The Babadook, Creep, Oculus, and then A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night.
That's one I haven't seen yet, but I need to.
So you're the only one who has seen that movie then?
A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night?
I know of it, but I haven't seen it. So.
Yeah, it's a black and white Iranian vampire movie. It's something you kind of have to watch, and
you haven't sold me.
No, that didn't sell you.
No,
I don't know. You got to do it. It's a lot with the atmosphere and kind of. I How many Iranian movies have you watched?
No,
Especially horror movies.
because because when I think of ultra awesome cinema that I need to make sure I go see, Iran is where I think of first.
Yeah, it is?
No.
Oh. No, it's definitely a lot of the atmosphere and kind of the almost like a coming of age story with vampires.
Nice.
So Twilight in Iran.
No, not good vampires, not shitty Twilight
Like
vampires.
sparkly vampires.
They don't sparkle.
It's black and white. It's hard to sparkle in black
Yeah.
and white.
Touche.
Out of that year, what's one of your favorites?
Babadook was really good. There again, I tend to be behind on my viewing, but that was one I picked up, and I'm like, that was really good. A kid got a little annoying with his constant screaming, but
Kid is he's the one thing you have to get through in that movie
yeah,
is that kid.
and I think if you can get by with that, you're okay. But otherwise, I thought it was a really creepy element, the fact that she created this bedtime character that just it's potentially, and it's like really there, and it's just creepier now.
Yeah, he's a terrifying new character, and then yet it's a very relatable story.
Right, and very small story at the same point.
Yeah, and I like when movies take that. They take use the thematic elements and then also scare the shit out of you with
Right.
it. Have you seen the Babadook?
No.
It's worth a view.
Yeah.
I don't understand this little side note, how the Babadook creature became this gay icon, though.
Yeah, I think it was a mistake on Netflix.
Is that where it came from?
Yeah,
Okay.
it came up on Netflix under LGBTQ movies, and then the first one that came up was the Babadook. Like it was just an error.
But
now he's an icon.
Yeah, I see all these memes, like it's almost like the community's
Embraced
taking
it.
which is fine. But it was just like that movie has not even anything to do with that.
No,
so,
but wait until the sequel comes out.
Yeah. Totally.
I hope we don't get a sequel. One of my favorites on here is
Waving around a rainbow flag.
Yeah.
Yeah, not as scary.
No. One of my favorites on here is Creep. Like, this is a very small budget, only 2 actors, and it's just Mark Duplass being creepy as fuck.
The Duplass brothers, yeah. Didn't they just announce a third one?
Yep. Yeah, the first 2, it's both great movies, and Mark Duplass is fantastic,
Is he creepy?
He's super creepy.
That's Creep.
Yeah.
It's another hole in my viewing that I'm like, shit, I need to get to that one.
Yeah.
Especially when I just heard about the third one. I'm like, yeah, damn it.
One of my favorite found footage movies for sure. Oculus, I want to touch on Mike Flanagan because I think
Phenomenal director.
he is probably my favorite horror director right now.
Mm-hmm.
Even more than James Wan.
Blasphemy.
No.
And Jordan Peele, blasphemy.
I don't really classify Jordan Peele as a horror director. I mean,
Not yet.
Not
give
yet.
give him time.
Right. I haven't seen Us yet, but he got. I think I'm not saying he got lucky because Get Out is a phenomenal film as well. But we'll see how the second one is before give him that credit.
Mike Flanagan, I think he doesn't have a miss at all on his resume, and he only gets better. Like
Yeah.
The Haunting of Hill House was my favorite piece of TV or movies from last year. It's fantastic.
Well, and before that, Gerald's Game, which
Yep.
I felt was an unadaptable book. Because it's like, how the hell are you going to have a movie where a woman is tied to the bed for the entire hour and a half? Holy shit, he pulled it off. Yeah.
Yeah, he has a lot of underrated movies out here too. Like one we can touch on is Hush, which is on Netflix right now, and then Before I Wake has Jacob Tremblay in it, the kid from Room, and yeah, this movie's fantastic. It was shelved forever, but yeah, it finally landed on Netflix. Technically, it's a Netflix original, but
Yeah, just because they
picked it up.
scrounged through the garbage for it.
Yeah.
Well, not the garbage, but the vaults, I should say. Let me rephrase it.
They scrounge through the shelves. Hey, there's these dusty shelves in Hollywood. We need some stuff off of there.
Are you guys going to do anything with this?
We'll take it.
We'll sell it to you for $100.
Jumping to 2015, some more like indie movies that we get on here. I believe It Follows was A24. I can't remember for sure, but
Yes.
is it?
Yeah.
So It Follows and The Witch are both A24 movies from that year.
Yeah. I liked It Follows on the first viewing, but it doesn't hold up if you actually think about it, or subsequent viewings, because there's certain things like the beginning. Have you seen It Follows?
Mm-mm.
Okay. The whole concept is it's, which I like the concept of the fact that it's basically like a ghost that's passed through like an STD.
It is an STD, a sexually transmitted demon.
There you go. Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
You make me want to watch this movie now.
You know, in like the first sequence where the boyfriend is saying, you know, it's like the demon's just standing there watching. But yet when it's after her, it's always coming at her. So subsequent viewings and thinking about it doesn't hold up. But I loved the concept. At like his first viewing, I thought it was very good. But don't think about it afterwards.
See, I've only watched it probably 2 or 3 times. It follows, but I love it, and it has a fantastic score.
Yes.
By Disaster Piece.
Few that I downloaded the score and I will listen to when I'm writing, just because it sets a nice tone.
Yeah, that movie's all tone, and then I love the concept. It's basically taking like the thing you saw in every '80s movies that if you have sex, you're gonna die, and literally, in this movie, if you have sex, you're gonna die. Like that's the whole plot of it. Like,
although my first thought was when she got it, it was like just hire a prostitute, take it to a prostitute, you know.
Did Randy from Screen write the movie?
I wish. No, yeah, they kind of touch on that, I guess, later in the movie. Yeah. It's hinted at that one of the kids goes and finds a prostitute to go to.
I'm like, you're always going to be safe then.
Yeah. It Follows was directed by David Robert Mitchell, and his next movie, Under the Silver Lake, supposed to be coming out in April. Supposed to be coming out in 2018 too.
I've heard nothing about that one. So.
Yeah, Andrew Garfield. That's all I know from it.
Huh.
We can touch on The Witch. What did you think of The Witch?
I like The Witch.
Yeah.
I thought it was a nice atmospheric thing. I know a lot of people complain that it's slow paced, but I like some of those slow burns. You know, that really kind of give you time to develop and pull you in. Plus, who can't like Black Phillip? I mean, any movie with a goat.
For me, the first time I watched it, that was actually me and Kayla's first date, was going to The Witch. And because we both loved horror movies, and yeah, we were both actually really disappointed in it. Yeah,
just because of it's or
it's it is a very slow burn, and then but it's something like when I go back and watch it, like it gets better with multiple viewings.
Right. Well, and sometimes like if you're not expecting, like Hereditary to me it's very much a slow burn. You know, if I'm not in the mood for it, I get impatient. You know?
At least your first date horror movie was not mine.
What was yours?
Hostel.
Oh, you didn't want to say. Oh yeah. That's at the height of the torture porn genre.
Well, and I was totally behind and absolutely enjoyed Cabin Fever. And that was the second iteration of Eli Roth going into mainstream.
Yep.
And the previews made it look good. You get in the movie, you're like, what the fuck did I just watch, and why did I pay for it?
That's pretty brutal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. After a while, so we'll jump to Hereditary here in a few minutes, but Hereditary is very...
Keep your pants on.
I don't ever wear pants when we record these, you know that. They can't see anything.
He wears shorts. Just remember that. He's not... Anyway,
Hereditary, I was prepared for the slow burn after. The Witch kind of helped me set up for Hereditary once we got to that. The Gift from that year as well is one of the most underrated horror movies, thriller movies that come out in a long time.
That's Joel Edgerton, right?
Yeah, and Jason Bateman, who I enjoy anything. He's just a very sarcastic smartass in anything, but this one... The Gift alone. Just there again, thinking about the ending of, spoilers if you haven't seen it, but living your life knowing is that your kid or not.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of torture is that?
It is. It makes you think and it makes you feel gross at the end. Like,
very much. I was just like,
Yeah. Put yourself in his shoes and kind of. How would you think of that situation?
Yeah. So, just for the sake of argument, because I looked it up and because I didn't know whatever the case is, who directed The Gift?
Joel Edgerton.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote it.
And directed it. I'm like, now I'm even more intrigued by that movie.
Oh, it took me by surprise. There again, I was not expecting that deep of a horror film.
Out of him
like
I enjoy him as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I realize, what I know of the movie.
Right.
Yeah. Very good career change for him.
Yeah. And usually if it's written and directed and starring, I'm usually like, it's just an ego project. But this one was not.
He knocked it out of the park.
There's that fine line between an ego project and a passion project.
Right.
Because sometimes you're like, I can't find anybody to play it. Fuck it, I'm going to do it myself. I need to make this movie.
All right, in 2016, we got quite a list on this one. I should probably have narrowed it down, but I don't know. We had Don't Breathe, Hush, Lights Out, Raw, Train to Busan, and The Void as some of my favorites from that year.
Train to Busan.
What?
God, that was another one. I was not expecting a horror movie to make me cry.
Yeah.
Because it was just like, it's a zombie film, and I'm just kind of, I'm over the zombie genre, but so I'm like, I'll give it a view, but holy shit, the emotional gut punch at the end. It's like not what I was expecting.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite zombie movies.
Oh, God, yeah. And it's not even really overly violent for a zombie film.
No. And it does. It hits that emotional core and just hits you right at the end. It's kind of a tough one to watch.
Yeah, but Don't Breathe is another one that I really enjoyed. Just really well done, and that little twist towards the end there was like, what the hell? Mm-hmm. Didn't see that coming either.
No, not at all. Just never going to look at, what are those things called? The turkey.
Oh, the turkey basters.
Turkey basters. Yeah, never going to look at that the same again.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Oh, one of these that I just recently watched was Raw. And I love the coming of age aspect cannibalism movie.
Coming of age
cannibalism movie.
What the fuck?
I haven't watched it yet, but I know.
I see Raw, and all I think is Eddie Murphy.
Yeah. Apparently, it was pretty brutal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, yes and no.
Sure.
I mean, they're eating people, but yet
Right.
we've seen movies where people are eating people. Yeah.
I can watch it on Netflix.
You can watch it on Netflix. That's where I watched it. Look at that.
There you go.
The Void is a nice throwback to John Carpenter movies that I really enjoyed and didn't really think very much of when I put it on. But yeah, it really surprised me.
That came around at the same time as like The Battery, and there was another one that I always get confused. So when I go to watch one, I'm like, which one am I watching again?
Then we're gonna jump to kind of the one that's taking everyone by storm right now. Get Out.
I was going to say Happy Death Day?
Yes, Happy Death. No, Get Out.
The original? Come on.
Okay, it I guess could be two, but
there's
what is the one that actually won an Academy Award? Get Out.
Yeah, for screenplay, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's because he deserved it.
He did.
They did. There again. After I saw the film, I downloaded the screenplay because I wanted to see, basically learn from the best, and everything in that script ties in to something. It's all there for a purpose. So, which they always say as a writer, you need to make your scripts from beginning to end as tight as possible, and everything in that script is tight.
Yeah, I can't remember who did the video, but they were talking to Jordan Peele about the movie, and he was talking about certain scenes, and like one of the scenes that stuck out to me is when they hit the deer, and then the cop pulls up, and she makes sure to not have him give his license, so there's no tracing him back to her at all.
Yeah, it's just little things like that. Yeah. I had last fall I got to teach a film class here in town, and that was one of the films we talked about. We had two films we focused on, Get Out and The Exorcist. So I watched Get Out a few times, and everything, little things like that on first or second viewing, you're like, not a big deal, but then you really dig into it, like the whole metaphor with the deer, and just everything. It's phenomenal. So,
which ending do you prefer? Have you seen both of them?
I did.
Yeah.
The first time I was a little put off by the fact that, Ron? What was his name? Saved him.
Oh, Lil Ray?
Lil Ray, yeah.
Lil
It
Ray?
just kind of came off as a little cheesy, but after seeing the other ending, I think it was way too dark.
Yeah, the other ending, yeah.
Yeah, it just really didn't leave you in a very good place. At least this one, I think, dialed it back just enough that you're still in an emotional state, but not as desperate as the other ending.
Yeah.
The other ending's a little too realistic.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a little too close to home.
I think he made the smart move,
Yes.
and bringing that back and leaving you on that humor.
Right.
Because otherwise I could just picture that entire theater just leaving in
God.
absolute silence. Like nobody's saying a word.
Right.
Like you're used to the whole like, which thing is movie? Da da da. It just would have been crickets.
Right. Just like, oh God, what did we just see?
And then we get to probably it is the biggest R-rated horror movie ever made, It. Now,
Yeah.
for me, I don't consider it technically a straight up remake because the first one's a TV movie.
To me, it's not a remake. I liked the fact that, and even the people who made it consider it a re-adaptation. Because it's not a remake, it's not a reboot, it's none of the re-words that you're typically used to in Hollywood right now.
Right.
It's a re-adaptation. They went back to the source material. They went back to the book. They basically said, yes, we understand that Tim Curry's and the TV movie existed, but we're not leaning on it outside of, throwing the clown in there just to kind of give homage.
Yeah, wink and a nod.
A wink and a nod. But other than that, they're like, they let Bill be Bill. And, to bring in the creepy-ass fucking smile that he's had since he was a kid. Like, he brought that. That wasn't something that they gave it,
I enjoyed the hell out of it. I loved the fact that they split it into two.
Yes.
The kids and the adults. Because I think that's where the TV series got a little lost. Plus, I mean, you're limited
But the TV
to
series
4
is
hours.
literally only 2 parts, though.
Right. But, they're limited to 4 hours.
Well, that and they start off as adults in the TV series.
Yeah, and do the flashback.
And they do
It
the
takes
flashback.
really long.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It's been a long time since I've seen that one.
Because, we got to have Seth Green.
You have to.
Yeah.
Now-
Yeah. I was just thinking, I'm like, John Ritter was in that, Harry Anderson, both. I'm like, I know there was rumored for a while there that they wanted to have the kids in the original version play the adults in the new version, which I'm like, that's a little bit too much fanfare.
No.
Go with.
I mean, there might be a couple that would have been, like, that may have worked. Like, I would have been interested to see Seth Green.
Yeah.
In an adult, as the adult and whatnot, but I don't know how well...
He's got the wrong hair color, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The kids that they set up in the first version, or the new one, I thought they did a very good job of individualizing them, so I'm curious to see how it's going to play with the new one.
And I do like with with chapter 2 that they like, okay, we're gonna throw some A-listers in here and whatnot, but not everybody has to be, so we're not going over budget kind of thing or anything like, because half the people I don't even recognize.
Because they got Jessica Chastain.
The 3 big ones: Jessica Chastain, James McAvoy, and Bill Hader.
Bill Hader, yeah.
And then for me, like, B-list has got to be Isaiah Mustafa is the black dude.
Okay.
He's the Old Spice guy.
Oh, that's right.
And then, like, everybody else past that, not a effing clue.
Okay. Yeah. Which, I mean, I think it's smart.
Yeah. Because, I mean, otherwise you're going to be playing too much onto the names, and you're going to take away from the movie.
Right.
Yeah, and this did a big thing for R-rated movies, kind of showing, like, these can make a lot of money. Especially R-rated horror.
For the sake of the re-adaptation and the expectations that people brought into it, were you scared? Did it give you that same feel? Well, for me and obviously for Dominic here, because you're just a baby.
I am a baby.
The same fear that, like, what Tim Curry brought, even for being a TV movie, that shit was creepy as hell.
Yeah.
My biggest fear in life is clowns. So, yes.
That's right. I forgot about that.
I don't do clowns at all. So, yes, this movie terrified me.
Because, like, I walked into this movie. I got into the movie a couple weeks late after it came out. And by then, my aunt and cousin had already seen it. They're like, God, it was scary. It was blah, blah, blah. I jumped once. And that wasn't even because I was scared. It was because it was the way they cut the scene. It was in the garage.
Yes.
When he pops out of the...
it was a stinger scare.
It was when they shifted, all of a sudden he's facing the other way. To me, I jumped. Outside of that, I'm like,
yeah,
it's a good movie, but I was like, I wasn't scared like everybody said this was gonna be.
For me, I didn't like that half of the scene. The first half where it's the pictures changing and he's like changing from the mom into himself, like that's the scariest part of that scene. Not giant.
To me,
yeah, that was.
But to
kind
me,
of
it wasn't.
Yeah,
it was a little bit of a cheap scare, I thought, but I don't know.
But that's just it. I wasn't scared by the scene. I was just more. My only jump was,
oh shit, there's
that's
a giant
not
clown.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That jarring. I got into a really interesting debate with somebody who was trying to compare the two It's, and I'm like, you can't.
You can't.
In 1990, when the first one came out, we didn't have any other Stephen King. Adaptations for Stephen King were pretty plentiful.
We had The Stand by then, didn't we?
No, that was after. That
Had
was
what?
93.
Really? Oh, wow.
You had what?
92.
Carrie?
Yeah,
Was about the only one?
You had Children of Corn, you had
Yeah.
Maxim, but it's the fact that It was the novel that had come out,
Yeah.
and they were making it into a mini-series, and they were like, well, it sucks, it's not scary, whereas the new one is, and I'm like, but think of the time frame back then. You know, it was kind of terrifying at the time, and I'm like, this was on primetime TV. You know, comparing it to a movie now 30 years later, you can't.
No.
You know, it's not fair. It's like comparing King Kong. You know, the 1933 version is not as scary as the most recent one. But yeah, I'm looking forward to chapter 2.
Trying to compare. I'm picturing like literally like trying to put brand new CGI King Kong with 8-man suit, black and white
Yeah.
King Kong in this.
The claymation.
What else did we have from this year? Happy Death Day. I don't know. Brian really enjoyed that one.
It's a popcorn movie. I'm not going to Happy Death Day because I'm like expecting. Number one, I didn't expect a sequel to come out of it.
No.
It was a cheap enough movie that they made plenty of movie to be able to justify it.
Right.
It wasn't anything I expected, but I was a little hesitant because it's a PG-13 horror movie.
Right, which I usually like.
But the one thing I enjoyed about it, and what I think the PG-13 allows for, is because of the way the movie is set up for the Groundhog Day kind of effect, is that you're left to the imagination for all the blood and guts and all the stuff that would make it rated R.
Right.
So you don't need to make it PG-13. I think for what they did with it and for the low budget and everything like that, I think they did a good job.
Yeah, I was entertained. And Jessica Rauth, I think, is a great actress, but for some reason in that movie, in Happy Death Day, she grated on me a little bit, and I don't know why. So,
I think that's more the character, not her.
Definitely.
Especially after us having just gone see Tater Tot and Patton.
Right, and I'd seen Tater Tot quite a while ago, so I knew she was capable, but in Happy Death Day, I'm just like, It was, I don't know, just something about it.
For me, her performance is the only thing I really latch on to in both of those movies. Like, for me, they're okay, fun popcorn movies, but yeah, she gives 120% in that.
She's definitely playing that, like, way entitled blonde college chick that literally just got her whole world flipped upside down.
Sure. Mommy and Daddy paid her way in.
Yep, and then all of a sudden she's like, fuck, I keep dying.
Yeah.
For me, it could have probably, for my enjoyment level, I think if it would have went R and maybe more, like, goofy with the way they're killing her, like Evil Dead kind of style, use some of that type of, like, gore effects, it would have added a little more, but
I don't know.
I see why it went to the PG-13 route. It's aiming for that crowd, age crowd, between 13 to early college.
I mean, you're going to have those movies in the industry that's going to peg them in that time frame to get them to be wanting to get into the R-rated movies when they're able to go to R-rated movies.
I mean, that's how I got into horror. I mean, Gremlins, just totally, it's the gateway.
In for us, though, it wasn't a matter of we needed PG-13 movies. We were just able to go into the R-rated movies because Mom bought the ticket.
Well, that's because, I mean, I was 14, 15 going into, like, all these R-rated films with my brother, and I think only once did they like, are you 18 or 17? And I'm like, no. They're like, don't care.
Yeah. Back then, just like, you're going to piss your pants, dude.
But I'm like, I was just here last week saying Friday the 13th Part 7.
Dude, I just watched Aliens.
Yeah.
See, I hear you guys talk about all these movies you watched in the theater. I'm like, I'm so jealous.
I honestly, and that's where I think I really enjoyed it, is because it hit that pinnacle for me of 88, 89.
Yes.
And there were so many films coming out, at least for a horror lover. I mean, 88 alone, you had Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Phantasm, Child's Play. I mean, the list just keeps going and going on how many films came out that year, and I'm like, I got to see these all in the theater.
One little fan fiction thing I wanted out of it after watching it a couple times is in the background you see part 4 of A Nightmare on Elm Street is playing in their theater. Yes. I wish one of the kids was terrified of Freddy.
That would have been a nice.
Because it's made by New Line.
Yeah.
So they could have just had Robert Englund come back as Freddy just for a.
That would have been hilarious.
That would have been really cool.
That would have been awesome.
Maybe a little too meta. I don't know.
Oh, speaking of, for Chapter 2, I was seeing a thing about James McAvoy, like completely avoiding Bill Skarsgård because he scares the shit out of him.
Nice.
And I'm like, that is amazing.
That adds a lot.
I know.
Having one of the adult actors being terrified of him. Yeah.
And it just goes to show exactly how in character Bill Skarsgård has gotten in for Pennywise.
Yeah, I just watched a movie where he showed up the other day, and I'm like, is that?
That's what I did when he was in Deadpool 2.
Wait, he was in Deadpool too?
Who, Bill Skarsgård?
Yeah, he's the acid.
He's the
from
acid guy.
Oh shit, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, it was Assassination Nation where I saw him.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah.
That's on my
Another
another one on my
that was
list.
the one that I'm thinking. Because yeah, I was just like, I'm like, how old is this guy? Because he's like playing a teenager. I'm like, and he's really not that old. But I don't know. For some reason, when he was playing Pennywise, I aged him a lot more than when he was.
Well, that's also because there's so many Skarsgårds, and they're all related. If they're not brothers, they're sons to Stellan.
Exactly.
Stellan.
Yeah. A couple other movies you need to add to your watch list that are on Netflix right now.
Okay.
The Ritual and Veronica.
Veronica?
Veronica.
The Ritual. What's one?
Yeah, what's The Ritual?
The Ritual is basically these guys go out on a like group camping trip that they do every year.
Oh, that's on my list actually.
Yeah, that they're doing it this time because their friend had died.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
God, who's in that one? Let's say it's, as we get closer to the current date, it's where the holes really start to show up.
Yeah, I can't remember who's in it at all, but it's very much that slow burn type of movie, and it definitely hits you in that emotional core, especially with dealing with how these guys are all interact with each other and their relationships with each other.
It's got the jackass from Shaun of the Dead in it.
The jackass from Shaun of the Dead.
The store that Sean works in, he's got the little pissant employee that tries to tell him what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I only recognize him because he's also in Black Mirror.
And then another one, kind of underrated, that, I don't know, everyone overhyped this one for me, but I still enjoyed it, was Veronica. Spanish language horror movie that Netflix picked up. I thought it was a fun, spooky little horror movie.
So just out of curiosity, and this probably goes for Dominic too for the sake of Netflix, but do you not even have to go to the horror genre anymore? Does it just say recommended and it's all horror movies?
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's why, thankfully, my wife and I have separate accounts, because mine, it's like I'll watch all the stuff I want.
You'll be like, horror, romantic comedy, horror.
In our house, it's like continue watching, and then it's a horror movie. I'm like, what the fuck? You watch that without me?
That's why Kayla needs her own account, then she can hide it from you.
That's true.
Yeah, she should, because otherwise, like, my wife watches, like, kids' movies and cartoons, because she gets very anxious about watching horror films, which I don't want to say I'm envious of, because for me, I'm looking for that rush to get scared, whereas for her, I mean, she watches Supernatural and she gets all worried, like, oh my god, they're in a predicament, are they going to get out? And I'm like, got 15 minutes left, they'll be fine. So I'm like, I wish I could have that level of anxiety. No, maybe I don't. But
No, by this time you're so desensitized.
oh, totally.
Yeah.
You're just like, how's he gonna die?
Yeah.
That one's gonna die. Whoa, that one did not die.
Yeah, Dominic's definitely the same. I'm sure with you don't get scared very easily.
No.
For me, I don't either. But a movie that did scare the living shit out of me is Hereditary.
Again, keep your pants on.
No, I won't keep my
I
pants
was
on for this one.
expecting. I think I was expecting too much from that one. There were some creepy elements. It's one of those that does linger with you, and I think those are the ones that kind of freak me out more. Is the ones that, like, 2-3 days later, I'm still thinking about it, or like something pops up. What freaked me out about that one is, have you seen it?
No.
Spoiler warning. I do want to spoil it because I want to.
That,
Spoil it.
oh no.
When
I didn't.
Do you care?
No,
Okay.
not at all.
when the sister's hanging her head out the window, and gets it taken off by a post. That was always kind of my fear, because I had a beagle for a while, and she would hang her head out the window, and I'm always like, look at cars going by, and I know there's plenty of space, but so when that scene happened, I'm like, oh fuck.
And the scariest part of that scene is just it lingers on the older brother just sitting in the car. I'm like, oh my god, this, like, I hate watching this so
I'm
much.
like, when are they going to cut back to show us what happened? And they follow him home, and he goes to bed, and then all of a sudden you hear the mom and dad get up, and then so like your imagination is just running wild.
And then when it just shows her head on the side of the road, like, oh god.
So it was like very much a delayed sense of anticipation, because that's sometimes why I like watching like foreign language films, like the J-horror that came out years ago was nice, because their sense of editing is very different. So you get accustomed to the pace, where suddenly they're lingering on a shot, and it's like, when are you going to cut? When are you going to cut? You know, so I think Hereditary did a nice job with that. I was expecting it to be more batshit crazy at the end, because people were just hyping it up, saying, oh my god, the ending is, you know, you're never going to see it coming, and I'm like, you know.
Have you watched as much horror as I have?
Yeah, like, it was a little disturbing, but I was expecting it to be overboard.
Yeah.
You know.
I went and watched it with our other roommate, and he hates horror movies. So like on the opposite end of the spectrum for me. But like every time he came home after that, he checked the corner to make sure she wasn't hanging up in there.
See, it would have been interesting. I didn't see it in theater, so I'm sure that would have been a very different
atmosphere.
Yeah, because I watched it at home by myself. So I think maybe seeing it in theaters might have given a little bit more of that group aspect. But I enjoyed it.
Another big hit from last year, A Quiet Place.
I'm stupid excited for a sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the first one.
Who would have thought Jim from The Office would make one
I
of
like how you always refer... You're never going, hey, John Krasinski from The Office.
No, he's Jim from The Office.
Jack Ryan.
Yeah. No, how he could go from, playing Jim in The Office to action hero Jack Ryan to...
I still stand by the fact that he's like, I'm getting overdone by my wife in all these action flicks.
Yeah.
I need a man up, get some abs, stars in 13 hours.
Yeah, I would say, what's the one she was in with Tom Cruise? Edge of Tomorrow?
Yes.
Yeah. She was more of a man than Cruise was.
Right. That's probably the one where Jim, fuck you. John Krasinski's like, between that and Looper, both of them,
Looper,
he's like,
yeah,
son of a bitch, she is showing me off.
Yeah, I was really surprised with A Quiet Place, and there again, I've been telling people, I'm like, if you want to know what screenwriting is like, watch that movie, because that's very much a show, not tell.
Yes.
So it's, because the whole thing with him putting the sand down, they never explain it, which I think is brilliant, that, they just have things like that.
They don't explain it, but you understand
right,
it.
exactly.
You get it right away.
Right, so to me, that's like one of my advice for screenwriters is do that, watch that film. But yeah, there again, for PG-13, it was an emotional roller coaster.
Was it only PG-13?
Yep.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Well, granted, there really isn't the language. It's all
No.
it's all suspense. It's all like
There's
most
the violence they keep cutting away. Every time the creature attacks. So.
And that first 10 minutes, like what happens in that first 10 minutes that sets up the rest of the movie, like that hits you right away.
Oh, absolutely. Because the first thing you're like is, you don't kill the kid. You don't kill the kid. Fucker, killed the kid.
The
Jim from The Office killed the kid.
Right.
Yeah, when the little toy siren went off, I'm like, oh fuck. Hey, it's...
Well, even before you even got that far, they're in they're in the store, and she takes the batteries. As soon as he picks everything up, you're like,
damn it,
he's dead.
Yeah.
What I do not understand with this movie is how it did not win the Academy Award that it was nominated for.
Oh, for the sound?
Yes.
Yeah, because that's all it was.
Maybe it's because the Academy is like a bunch of old people and that they're deaf, and they thought maybe their TVs were just broken, so they couldn't. They're like, can't be sound editing. I can't hear anything.
It's one of those silent films.
Yeah.
Well, even me watching, because I didn't see it in the theater, or I didn't see it until I was at home. There was legit a few times where I was like checking my remote, going, because I mean that's one thing that was absolutely beautiful about it. I mean, to the point where it's literally like there is no sound.
Right.
It's a tough movie to watch in the theater, especially if you're like me and you get like a big bucket of popcorn. Like, you don't want to eat it.
See, that's it. I wanted to see it, but I didn't want to go to the theater because, for me, the theater going experience got ruined by the
Star Wars.
Well, the kids today, get the hell off my lawn. It's the fact that they're just, checking their phone. They're just talking to each other. I mean, I went and saw The Predator in the theaters, and the couple next to me just kept talking the whole time. I'm like, enough. I'm like, you're paying $7-8 matinee prices.
I went to the early showing.
Yeah, and I'm like, why are you talking through the whole thing? This isn't your living room, so. So that's why I didn't want to see A Quiet Place in the theater, just because I don't know how the other people are going to react.
Yeah.
You bring up a very valid point where it's like so many people like, the movie industry is going to shit because of home video and Netflix and stuff like that. And I'm completely agree with you. You're getting to the point where you're just like, I don't want to go because people just don't have the etiquette is not there anymore.
Right. Unless you go which I found opening night for like a big movie like Star Wars. I'll try to go opening weekend because there's the people that really, really want to see this thing.
You want to see it,
so they're going to be quiet.
or you go into like a early typically like a. Even if you can pull it off, like a Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday morning matinee when there's like 4 people in there,
right?
Because it's the 4 people that wanted to go see it,
or it's old people with you, and they're just gonna be quiet anyway.
That was me during Murder on the Orient Express. Like 6 people in the theater, and I'm the youngest one there.
That was kind of an old person movie, though.
It was good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. One of my favorite theater going experiences from last year was watching Halloween opening weekend, because for me Halloween is like on the same level of Star Wars. So I'm in the theater opening weekend, and when John Carpenter's music starts playing, I'm the only one clapping. I'm like, oh, I thought we were all supposed to start clapping.
You're like, oh shit.
Yeah. You're clapping at the end of the movie, aren't you?
Yeah. The part that's funny though is you're like, last year I was like, no, it.
Yeah. Well,
fuck.
Yep.
Yeah, I know, and it's like it's already been like 6 months.
And honestly, for me, the out of the big 4 slashers, Freddy, Jason, Michael, and Leatherface, I've always felt Halloween is the lowest one for me, just because I am not a huge Halloween fan. For me, it's Friday the 13th. Obviously, for you, it's Elm Street.
Yep.
But yeah, I've never enjoyed the Halloweens just because their storyline is so fractured. Now it's the whole pick your own adventure type of thing.
Yeah, no shit.
That's kind of the charm for me for those movies.
Yeah.
Is like, where do I want to go after the first one? Do I want to go to the second and then H2O?
I like how the fact you use the term "pick your own adventure" because
it is
when you sit the back and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's like, do we ignore this one or this one? But there were some shots that I really enjoyed. I really liked the long tracking shot that they used, where he went through the house, killed a few people. I enjoyed that. I don't know. I was there again. I think I had my expectations too high. I really enjoyed the young black kid.
Yes.
God, he was.
He should have just been the main character.
Yeah.
I wish he was.
I'd have watched a whole movie with him just commenting on the whole thing. Yeah. But I don't know. I was expecting more.
For me, as a big Halloween fan, the thing that I get why they did it, yet they kind of retroactively did the same thing, is that they changed that they're not brother and sister, only for him to just chase her at the end again. I'm like, just leave them as brother and sister.
And a buddy of mine, his son, who just turned 17, saw it and really enjoyed the hell out of it, because he had watched the first one and then he'd watched this one. And he enjoyed them both. So
essentially, based on this one, he watched them in order.
Yes. Yeah. So whereas I think as a fan, for me, I think I was carrying all that baggage of all the other ones. So I don't think I enjoyed it as much because I'm like, oh, you changed this, you changed that. This doesn't make sense. Yeah. Whereas I think if you just saw them that way, maybe it would have been more enjoyable. I don't know.
See, and I get where you're going with that because of I've only seen literally in bits and pieces of all of them with the exception of seeing the first one,
sure,
and seeing this one here. So for me, for them to literally retcon everything,
right,
was no foul on me, because I think most of the ones I've seen is what's it, 5, the one with Josh Hartnett in it.
No,
H2O.
That's the 7th one.
That to me was your 20 years later.
But that's what I mean, though. I mean that outside of the first and the last, that's the one I've seen like the most of.
Sure.
And so, I appreciate the fact that, at least when they were retconning, they called it out in the movie.
Yes.
Yeah, there's all these rumors, they're all false, they're wrong, blah, blah, blah. So basically, they just like, yeah, that didn't exist.
Right. Which, was a nice touch. I don't know. I think I was expecting more. I do eventually want to get around to rewatching it, so.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where the sequel goes. Hopefully takes it in a completely different direction.
That's what Rob Zombie did, and you didn't like that.
Ooh, yeah. Woof.
Be careful about that. Careful what you ask for.
I like the first one. True. I mean, for its own. The second one, I don't know what the fuck Rob was thinking on that one.
The second one is my legit least favorite movie of all time. I can't stand that movie
I look at Rob Zombie's Halloweens as their own universe.
Yeah, they're
like,
outside.
They are the non-Eon films to James Bond's, 25. There are 2 or 3 James Bond films that are not considered canon. Right. So to me, that's what Rob Zombie's Halloweens are to all of these. Even as fractured as they are.
And there again, I appreciate the fact that he did his own thing, that he wasn't intimidated by the original to do his own thing. And I think a lot of people were expecting him to make a sequel, and
No, and I mean, if you really look at it and you tear back and you remove all of the history that is Halloween, you just look at it as a horror movie that is a Rob Zombie movie.
Right.
It's exactly what it is.
Right.
But yeah, it's like comparing the book to the movie. You don't
version.
put these two together.
Right.
Yeah, those movies kind of, especially the second one, just batshit crazy. Like, don't make any sense almost.
I had actually watched it. Trying to make a long story short, my wife and I were out taking a road trip, and we got stuck somewhere in Nebraska. So we're sitting in a bar waiting for someone to come rescue us, like 3 hours. And Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 was on Sci-Fi, and they had the volume off. So I was watching it that way, seeing it's actually a lot better without the sound. Just because I think, just focusing on the visuals of it, I was able to understand more of what he was going for. I think he was using the sound element as a different source, and it just, I don't know. I'm still not saying it's great, but.
Yeah. Another movie that was batshit crazy from last year, Mandy with Nicolas Cage. This movie is just fucking balls to the wall, perfect Nick Cage just being nuts.
Nick Cage.
Did you like it?
No.
Okay, neither did I.
I thought you did like Mandy.
Nicolas Cage is fucking awesome just because I love Nicolas Cage, and especially if he's crazy, Nicolas Cage, it's even better. But I was let down by it. Besides Nicolas Cage,
I hear the score is amazing.
It does.
That's
a really good
another
score.
one.
Like the score is like,
Yeah.
and I forget. There's a particular reason why they were shooting for like Oscar nomination, but it didn't get submitted in time to be able to qualify.
Yeah, and then he died. The composer, so just like, But the score I love. The movie, I don't get what
Not so much.
was. There's some shots that I really, really enjoyed, but to me it was just like somebody's art film. Like, let's just have like this really extreme lighting over here, and story. Man, we don't care. Just keep going with.
Just bring in Nick Cage because he'll do anything.
Right, exactly. Which there again, I'm not understanding the Nick Cage phenomenon. Because I don't think he's a very good actor, but I don't know.
It's because Nick Cage
I think it's more of my age group with that phenomenon.
I
think it's
agree,
definitely like the meme type of thing, especially with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I thought with Ghost Rider, I don't know what the hell he was doing in that second Ghost Rider. Because there's like some scenes there, and I'm just like, did you not have a director to tell you to bring it down?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
You bring up Ghost Rider, and I will flat out say my biggest qualm with that is, like, for instance, we know it took years and a lot of work in Deadpool to come to fruition because Ryan Reynolds wanted to make it happen. Mm-hmm. That was freaking Ghost Rider for Nick Cage. Right. He spent like 10 years. The dude is one of the biggest comic book nerds outside of Kevin Smith, probably in the industry. Mm-hmm. And then you go, that's what you come up with?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it was the writer and director who did Daredevil. Now, I am unapologetic. I loved Daredevil with Ben Affleck. Because I'm a huge Daredevil fan.
R-rated or the PG version?
The R-rated version.
Okay, good. As long as it's the director's cut. As long as it's the better cut.
Yes, I agree with that. I even like the PG version, but when I saw the R version...
It's even better.
Holy shit, yeah.
They gave you what you wanted and took out the stuff that they didn't need. Like the overabundance of the love story.
Isn't that like the Coolio edition?
Yes. Which...
There's a Coolio edition? What the fuck?
He's in that movie.
Well, I know he's in the movie.
Yeah, he's only in the R-rated part.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's cut out of the PG-13.
Here's a weird story from last night. I got to hang out for an evening with Coolio in Chicago, and at the end of the night, he gives me a fist bump, and I'm like, I says, dude, I loved you in Daredevil. He gives me another fist bump, and he walks away, and he's like, you saw the director's cut. I'm like, well, yeah. I says, I loved it, and he's like, comes back, gives me another fist bump, and walks away. Yeah. So it was just that moment of like, yeah. I'm like, no, I loved Daredevil, but so when they had the writer and director, I was excited for him to do Ghost Rider, but the one scene that I loved is when the motorcycle and the horse are riding side by side, and the music is going, I'm like, that's what I want, and then they get there, all right, you go your way, I go my way.
Sam Elliott just takes off, all right, I'm done. Give me my paycheck.
Basically, I'm like, that was what I wanted, was that whole movie to be that.
How did we end up on Ghost Rider, Brian?
Mandy.
All right.
So,
Nick Cage.
Nick Cage! I did not like Mandy. I don't get it.
Yeah. For me, the crazier the Nick Cage, the better.
Then how did you not like Ghost Rider?
The second one I kind of like because yes, he is. He's just nuts.
Yeah, there's that one scene where he's just off the rails,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay.
He pisses fire in that movie.
I was waiting for that to come up.
Yes, he pisses fire.
And I was excited for the second one because I thought they would
They'd
make up for
fix what they broke in the first one.
No, they just made it even worse.
We jumped the shark, and then we jumped the shark with the shark.
Yeah.
On a flaming motorcycle.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so that was the last decade of horror movies. Did I miss any that you want to bring up?
That was pretty much my list. Yeah, like I said, I was really surprised with there's been actually a lot of good stuff.
I left a lot of the remakes out besides Evil Dead because I think that's probably the best out of them. But yeah, I left out the Halloween, which was a little earlier, but Nightmare on Elm Street remake.
That was 2010. That's
yeah.
That was
Friday the 13th, which one isn't
that
terrible.
one's gotten a little better with age.
Yeah,
I like it a little bit more. But as an Elm Street fan, what did you think of the remake?
No, I hated it.
I thought it was total trash.
It's the worst.
I do. The one thing I did appreciate, for as much as they stole from the original when they were doing the remake, is that they did spin a little bit. Because, the first thing I was expecting is how soon before the boyfriend dies.
Right.
And then he makes it all the way through.
The thing that frustrated me with that film is the original, they had a lot of great practical effects, like when he's coming through the wall at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then in this one, I'm like, oh god, they got CGI. They should be able to do everything that looks great. It looked worse.
Yep.
I'm like, how can you screw that up?
There's a scene with I can't remember the actress's name. She's in Arrow, where she's like sitting in the classroom, and then all of a sudden everyone turns into dust. I'm like, that looks really bad.
Yeah,
Because they didn't have that Avengers money.
No, they didn't. But
no, the Michael Bay money, but and for as much as it sounds like I shit on films, I don't generally, because I will take anything away. There's got to be at least something good in every film that I watch. Either the line of dialogue or a cool scene. But with that one, I'm hard pressed to come up with anything.
Jackie Earle Haley was all right as Freddy, but there's no replacing Robert Englund. That's the
Well,
problem.
and I think that's the problem that everybody went into that movie with. Though, is for the sake, if you rip out everything about Robert Englund being involved, I think for one of the few saving graces of that movie is Jackie Earle Haley.
Yeah.
I think he did a phenomenal job on, there's not many people who are going to be able to replace Robert Englund.
Oh, exactly.
It's just not a thing. So that's at least the one thing I take away from that movie. Like you said, finding the silver lining, finding that one good thing.
Right.
For me, that is him.
Yeah.
Like, there's not many people who are going to be able to do that replacement, and I think he did a good job on trying to do with what he had.
Right. I thought that with the script, I liked the little micronap things. I thought that was an interesting little concept. I liked, for as weird as that they went back to the original backstory that he was a child molester, whereas Wes Craven, that was in his original script, but he softened it because for some reason child killer is not as hard as a child molester. So.
But what's funny though is that if you're talking 2010, if they were to come up with that movie right now, they would have softened that shit up.
Oh, totally.
They would have been like, yeah,
let's bring it back to the child killer because that's,
See, I wish it was the child killer. Like, it ruined it for me when it said he was a child molester. I'm like, now I can't like Freddy.
Well, and that's it. I mean, the original Elm Street is terrifying in the fact that he was not a likable villain. I think that's the problem with a lot of these horror films is they're trying to make their villains too likable. Yeah. Let's go back to the original ways of making them.
You want to root for the hero.
Yeah. I mean, the original Friday the 13th, you're rooting for the heroine. You're not Jason's mom, but and Elm Street, you're not rooting for you're not Freddy until I want to say it was part 4 when they suddenly made him the comedian.
Yep.
So. Even Child's Play. I think that conversation online this afternoon was fun because Chucky was scary in the first couple.
Yep, it was as soon as we got into The Bride of Chucky, when we got into 4.
Right. So it's like every franchise they've tried to make the hero likable, and I think maybe that was a little bit with the new Halloween that kind of turned me off a little bit. Is we did focus too much on Michael. I guess the only franchise that hasn't done that is Chainsaw, but they keep rebooting.
They didn't really do that a lot with Jigsaw.
They did it with Leatherface, a little bit.
Oh,
in
that last one,
the 3D one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's bad
true.
with Alexandra Daddario. She's like, at the end, she's like, has the most
Have
cheesy
at it,
line.
cuz.
Yeah, go get him, cuz. I'm like, oh god, what the fuck is happening?
That's one. I mean, I was talking about Halloween's Pick Your Own Adventure. That's one that they've got
Oh,
no
yeah.
continuity at all.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. Do we have any others that we want to bring up, Brian? That you can think of, Mr. Horror Nerd.
I was like, have you heard me this whole time?
Yeah. Out of all the ones we talked about, which one intrigues you the most that you haven't seen?
God. But as many as you've talked about that I may have lost count already.
You lost count?
Probably.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, at some point here, because I'm a big fan of James Wan, I still need to get back and basically watch his catalog. Pretty much everything that he's involved in, because I've always been a big fan of his, and for the most part, the only thing I've really ever watched of his is just the Saw movies. But I know what he's created out of everything else.
So how are we gonna segue to this, Brian?
I don't know. We can't.
We're just gonna do it. So that's the episode. Hope you all enjoyed it. There's plenty of horror movies in the last decade to watch, and
forever.
And forever.
Like, there's just good horror movies ever.
we're definitely gonna have to bring Dominic back on, and we're gonna talk some 80s slashers.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
Yes.
You won't be able to shut me up then. Sorry.
And then at that point, maybe we need to do some homework,
What?
or I'll need to
You
do
need
some
to do some homework. Yes. Anyway, so we got to wrap this thing up. We got to plug some of our shit.
Get them plugged.
Check out the Sioux Falls film community on Facebook. Join the conversation there. We've been having some good conversations on there recently, actually. So, yeah, definitely join that. And, let's talk some more movies. Check out Fat Dude Digs Flicks with Andy. He's an awesome guy doing movie reviews online, as well as Midwest Movie Talk with Jameson and Blake. Also a couple guys. A couple schmucks that just like talking movies.
We're all just schmucks.
Just schmucks.
We're just movie schmucks.
Yeah, you can check out our website, backlot605.com, for all our latest articles, reviews, as well as what's coming soon.
Does that make Dominic a horror schmuck?
A horror schmuck? Why not?
I suppose so.
It's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
Yeah. You can check out our TeePublic store, find a cool sticker or t-shirt. Why not?
Stickers.
Yeah. Check us out on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, and YouTube, as well as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that fun stuff. Miss anything besides you knocking over our microphone?
I'm just trying to break shit over here. When is do you remember when that sale is on TeePublic?
It is coming up here soon. I'll put it on our social media.
It's like the 27th, maybe?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, $12 t-shirts.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
$12 t-shirt. Shit, I got ripped off.
Yeah, you did. On our own store.
On my own store. God damn it.
Yeah. That's anything else you got to plug?
No. Do I have anything to plug? I don't think so.
I don't know. Do you ever have anything to plug?
No. I just sit back and...
He just sits here and talks about movies and drinks my beer.
Yeah, you gotta get better beer next time.
I'll bring back Fernson next time. Anyway,
Fernson.
Dominic, you got anything you wanna plug, or where they can find your movies?
Mr. Pointy.
Yeah, Mr. Pointy is up on Amazon Prime. So if you got Prime, it's free. If you don't, pay for it. It's like 99 cents, which means I get like 3 cents out of that.
Are you saying that Amazon rips you off?
Oh yeah, totally, real bad. There's a bunch of other short films up there. I'll hopefully be uploading a few more. You can follow me on Facebook, Warwolf Productions, or you can search for my name, Dominic Wieneke. But yeah, check it out and see what's coming next.
Yes, we're excited.
Super
excited.
Super.
Like, I really enjoyed Mr. Pointy, so I want to see what you come out with next.
The next one's gonna be dark.
Good. We like dark. I don't know about Brian, but
I don't mind dark.
yeah.
I just watch it with the lights on.
Yeah. Speaking of going dark, we're going to end this episode here. So until next time, thank you once again, Dominic, for being on.
Thank you.
Brian,
I'm always here.
you're always here. You don't need to say goodbye. Anyway.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. And we'll see you next time on the Backlot of South Dakota.